Dogs are great animals, by the way. Oh my goodness, what a great... Dogs are great animals, by the way. I'll talk about more in a moment, but as we hit quick play here, just for the sake of Eldritch Parasite stuff, yo Gothag all perks Kana this time. So that's gonna be a weird run. But as we get into this run here, so yeah, I was doing just doing some dog things. Not gonna say too much, but obviously there are dogs around me and the people I live with. So as I said, Eldritch Parasite, all perks, and now we can get other perks as Kana, which is nice. But as we get into Yogadag Eldritch Parasite, all perks Kana, yeah, dogs are great. In the US of A, which is the country in which I live in, there are some wonky things that can happen as we see Charisma, Light, Second Mystery, Strength, Second Encounter, and maybe a Knowledge check, but not going to say too much about this because, I mean, it's not that important. I do also have to focus on not dying, but yeah, there's some, recently went through some dog troubles, and let's just say money being spent in places, and this is also with the opinion of people who are professionals in, let's just say, taking care of dogs. Yeah, it can make no sense sometimes. It sometimes makes more sense to keep a dog than to do anything else with it. So, as we see flood pain, not anything bad, I'm just saying, like, if you want someone to take care of a dog, that can be just as bad as taking care of one yourself. So, Festival, Ramen, Bulletin, Painting, and Flood. And it depends on where you live, obviously, but what do? I definitely want to visit a town mystery. Now, something specific as we move into World of Horror talk is what actually happens if I get all non-town mysteries, but I guess we'll find that out in due time. Just making sure I know what I want to do. Probably want to take Flood second, funny enough, but we do need a weapon because the strat we are employing here, just to review, is that we are using Ghostly Spear and or Mind Drain, and or just, well, we are looking for one of those two, but both of them would be great. But if I don't find one immediately, I just take one. Now, the trick to this run, or this strat, is what happens when you run into, well, first of all, getting the Gruesome Totem for Doom, but what happens when you run into a mystery like Flood, and I think Flood is the only one with a forced double encounter. Double encounter is my short phrase for an encounter with two enemies in which you have to target both eventually, or just focus one down before defeating the other. Now, the problem with that, using Mind Drain and or a Ghostly Spear, is, as you'll see, if I can get one of these two spells and survive long enough to see them. But the problem is that you can't target enemy B, which, theoretically speaking, is a bug, but just know that in this current version of World of Horror 1.01, you cannot target enemy B, or the second enemy, with damaging spells, or just any spells in general, apparently. So, if I'm wrong about that, then definitely not Mind Drain or Ghostly Spear, and if for some reason you can, correct me. But as we sit here trying to do our best to find one of two damage spells, yeah, if we were to step back a bit, the foundation of this all is finding these spells in the first place, which is a gacha RNG, but anywho, I'm looking at my own clothes and I'm wondering if I put them on wrong, but but yeah, after that, yeah, you'll see what I mean. And again, to anyone who's newer, these spells are, as we roll a 10, these spells are essentially free on this character because this character's max stamina and or max reason, as a dog does bork in the background, is not affected by any max stamina or reason increases or decreases, which, in the case of Mind Drain and or Ghostly Spear, their costs are max reason or stamina. So yeah. Yeah, I know, dog, yeah. But anywho, let's see, hospital, I didn't even check my threat levels. Hospital, something and something, but we are in Bulletin, so let's police patrol the village for the sake of Doom. And visit the forest, because I need to do that as well. We can also equip the Gruesome Totem for free. This does not push our max reason down, so actually that's just a free unequip. But if you keep rolling 12s and 4s, I promise you, you will lose enough Doom, despite getting free casts and pretty much demolishing nearly every enemy in one turn, before even the first turn, before they can do damage to you. But anywho, I don't know if that's worth it there. I think technically it is. Theoretically, if you keep running to Yasugi-san, if you take stamina damage as Kana, specifically as Kana here, then you won't need to worry. Actually, Blood Frenzy helps us out. Again, these are very situational situations in which having certain curses and or spells are better or worse depending on your character old god backstory and or combinations of said two things. Again, in this, did I visit the thing? Actually, I can fight this phone, so even if I have to be forced to fight it, I don't need to worry. But let's find out. The answer is yes. But again, I can just mind drain this phone for free. And as you can see, with the gruesome totem equipped, my Kana's max reason remains at 8. They're a very funny character in that way, very specifically designed, but that might, that might suck the fun out of playing certain characters, and if you're thinking about, how they might change, not just the balance of the game, but cause bugs like this, because there are then backstory and or effect combinations that take priority over each other, and in the case of Kana's takes priority over things like Eldritch Parasite, bringing you to 33 stamina and reason, or in the good cases, being able to cast Mind Drain and or Ghostly Spear for free. But now that we have Blood Frenzy, funny enough, I think we just enter this. Now we might lose more Doom, but in Flood, as I've mentioned in the previous episode, you lose less Doom anyway, so we could just be breaking even here is what I'm trying to say. Although my Doom is relatively high. We'd be at 51% if it weren't for the Gruesome Totem pickup. Basically, overall, the Gruesome Totem will be to your advantage if you grabbed it as Kana. But as we enter the school here, now, there is something constructive I can say, if to no one else than anyone involved with the development of World of Horror, is that I don't think you should really be afraid of adding in very unique features like Kana, like Yashiro's Fate system. But, I was going to say something else, but I got flabbergasted with the perks I saw there. Yeah, you don't need to be afraid, unless, of course, it ends up crashing the game or makes it unplayable in general. Things like Kana not interacting with certain things, that's fine. I'm just worried about what might happen if very, 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 very weird things happen. But funny enough, as I've mentioned long ago in the past, World of Horror is in an oddly stable state despite the game balance. Actually, no, we don't want damage researchers. We're probably going to take less Doom taking damage here than anything. So, as we get Blood Frenzied here really quickly, we do want to Mind Drain regardless, but I wonder if I can end up... So what happens if I do this? Will I only take -1 reason? I guess we're going to find out. So we can quote-unquote defeat the boss here, but the boss then gets revived, so I'm really interested in the order of operations here. I'm still just gonna do kicks left, right, and center, but... Yeah, I know. We're gonna Mind Drain. Oh! How much? Okay, so I only lost 1 reason. So, as you can see, the boss gains 1 reason, and therefore comes back to life. But we didn't take 3 unless it happens later on. Actually, because how it's supposed to work is that whoever you're targeting is the one dealing damage to you. So I guess in a way... Yeah, if I do this, I should only be taking -1 reason. Also, did we really not do 3 kicks last turn? Well, it doesn't matter. Again, well, I'll keep an eye. Never mind, we did lose 3 reason. Well, hey. But nonetheless, we do want to just get rid of this boss and do this. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing you see here. Thankfully, the second enemy doesn't have that much HP. It's still quite a lot relative to other enemies, but... it could be a lot worse, is what I'm trying to say. So, as we move on here... I don't even remember what I was going to take next. We could take Painting now. Festival, yeah, Festival is pretty much worthless, so we'll do Ramen last, funny enough. We'll take Painting now. Because we can fight the boss here and save Amy, if for no other reason than to get another ally. Which is nice to throw at something, if we need to. Though we probably don't need to. I think throwing your ally at an enemy, that's what I call it. But sending an ally against an enemy only affects enemy A as well. That's the syntax of what the game uses. And so if I fought the boss of Flood with like 12 allies, which I don't think I've ever seen for myself, but theoretically if that happens, then you can only damage the first enemy anyway. And at that point, you might as well be using ally attack, which can at least target the second enemy. So, shrug. But anywho... I think that was pretty much the highlight of this video. If you leave the video now, I don't know what else I mean, aside from me and RNG, but that's a whole other fun time. Oh, goodness. 5 knowledge, 5 dexterity. Well... fun times. And yeah, we can just fight anything. Yeah, that's the positive. Even though theoretically speaking, you can say that it's an exploit anyway, it still at least adds in some flavor to World of Horror gameplay-wise. Is that you can just end up fighting things and being like, wow, I feel cool. But then you're just fighting against anything else, and you're just like, ah, or failing events left and right specifically, and going, ah, I'm still dying. So yeah. Funny enough, if this were a more normal run, actually, as we actually have Amy with us, so we can't take that. But, yeah, if we... Nah, I'm going crazy. Never mind. I forgot what I was going to say. We do have the second encounter check. I don't know if it's going to matter, but I did forget what my second encounter was, so off we go. Festival, yeah, festival, and then ramen is the plan. You might as well rest here anyway, even though you're not healing anything. You're taking less damage than visiting, investigating the village. Unless something good happens, but that's RNG, and that's not something I'm willing to do. Because then you can just look for friends and be like, oh, wow, look at these people. Actually, that would be quite nice to pick up Fujiko here. The problem is I don't know if okay, I do. Come! And away we go. If we get Iwa right after this, I'm going to be quite sad. Hermit is interesting, because I think you end up taking less, but unfortunately I don't have enough funds to sell, so I just have to let you go. Fujiko might do us better though, as odd as that sounds. Never mind, because I one-shot everything else, so forget what I just said. So this is a funny little situation here. If there's anything nuanced and if you want to feel cool about playing World of Horror, you take Peace of Mind here. The reason you take Peace of... Well, actually, no, it's RNG anyway. Never mind. Forget what I said. So what we're hoping for here is the RNG is I run into an enemy that does all damage. And so what happens now is that if I don't defeat this enemy, I will only take 5 Doom, because if I were unlucky, I would have run into 2 separate events, one that lowered my stamina, the other lowering my reason, and then I would have taken more Doom. And I think this would be the second time that this strategy has saved me, because I think in the previous run, if we did not do what I just did in that same encounter, we would have doomed out. So spoilers for the last episode, but yeah, you get what I mean. And if you don't know how that works, I mean, there's nothing else happening. So again, dying as Kana, both to stamina and reason, you only lose Doom once. Now, if for some reason that's a bug and Panstaz decides to fix that, then hey, I guess Kana just gets worse. But if Kana is already top 3 characters, if not the best character in World of Horror anyway, then I mean, I'm not going to complain, because I don't have, I might not love Kana as a character to play, gameplay wise, but I don't hate them either. So I'm shrugging in real life. Anywho. Funny enough, if we fight this boss, I think we can we mind drain this boss all the way to... we'll see. Now, certain enemies have become undefeatable because of Kana, but let's find out. Oh, I guess we're just going to be sitting here the whole time then. What's going to happen? I wonder what's going to happen. Okay, so I guess we're going to autopilot and I can talk about anything I want to talk about. But, if nothing else, we'll to stay on topic with World of Horror, we can talk about Kana being the best character in World of Horror. Again, I would never argue that, even though the episode 0 of this miniseries looked like I was making fun of Kana. In a way I was, but that's because there's still a level of RNG in which their performance as a character for me just doesn't happen. So, but I won't deny that around 50% of my runs, if I employ Mind Drain and or Ghostly Spear, I'll probably survive like 80% of the time, 90% of the time. I know that sounds weird because I just said 50% of the time I'll survive 80 to 90% of the time, but again, that's my subjective opinion. My objective opinion is that if you are Kana, you get to do things like this. But that's why I have a self-house rule, not to allow myself, just to try and see. And the other part of it is that I am trying to act as if, Kana did not have this exploit. You can defeat it like that. Anywho. So, yeah, and I assume it's an oversight, but I will use it if if for some reason I really, really, really wanted to survive, or I'm trying to unlock something and I don't want to waste time, essentially. But I think there is some merit to playing Kana as quote-unquote untended. Although, again, unless someone who has the authority to talk about the game's design says anything, I just have to assume that it's... Well, I assume that Mind Drain, Ghostly Spear, and or something else. I think, Flesh Regrowth, using them on an infinitely is an exploit with Kana. So, but I mean, I wouldn't really argue if you said that, oh, it's not, well, not just intended, but you know, that's not so bad. And so I'd be like, yeah, you're right. I'm just deciding, because I'm the one playing, to not use it for myself. For no other reason than to try to make my own mind better as I try to think through Roll of 4. And I'm not saying that because, oh, people don't want to play hard. I mean, play with more difficulty or can't play without a Mind Drain Ghostly Spirit exploit. No, I'm just saying that I'm trying to just improve myself, because as you can see through this whole channel, I forget things a lot. Whether they happened long ago or just literally 10 seconds ago. I say 10 seconds specifically because I'm talking about whenever I can't remember my old god backstory combination for the episode as I'm recording. But anywho, if I want to be fun here, I would just let these kicks go, but no. You know what? Yeah, okay, I was about to say. That is, I think, 80%, so there is a 0.8% chance of missing all 3 kicks. And the math behind that is, so there's a, if you do 3 kicks, the chance of you, what is, did I get that right? Check with me if I say, I'm going to say it just so I can give you my own thoughts. But essentially, so the chance of you missing 3 times with kicks at base is 20%, or missing a kick action at base is 20%. So the chance of missing 3 of them is 20% of 20%, which is 4%. And so 20% of 4% is 0.8%. Did I get that right? Anywho, charisma, light. That's your math for today. I forgot my seconds, by the way. We could actually die here, question mark? Especially if we died a reason, but we can't heal anyway. And we can't... Well, let's see if we get leadership. No, we don't. So, I got 2 perks that don't... I just happened to... This is what I mean by my RNG, by the way. They could have given me anything else, and I got a perk that doesn't work on Eldritch Parasite, a perk that you pretty much don't care about when using Kana with one of the 2 damage spells, and then another perk in which you can't use an Eldritch Parasite. So that's at least something fun to note at the end of this video, whether I survive or not. But anywho, if we don't have a light source, which I thought I did, I guess I don't. I sold the thingy-majiggy, so we lose 5 doom there, and now I do need to get one of my 2 second checks right, which I think was Flood? Yeah, Flood. So we should be able to survive no matter what now is what I'm trying to say. But anywho. Yeah, this is an interesting run, but if I didn't have the power of Mind Drain, I promise you I would likely be dead here. I'm just going to say the Sweaty Assailant, because I took Flood as my second, and the chance of me running into an encounter in my first mystery was high, so therefore my second one has to be, in my second mystery, the first encounter and investigation you do. But yeah, without further ado, if you want to say anything, you know what to do. If you want to support me, you know what to do. Otherwise, I won't take up much more of your time. Thank you for watching. Bye! I'm getting better at saying that quickly, I think.